Hey everyone, Ronan here. Welcome back to the channel. Now, if you've made it this far, you're probably wondering what you're doing watching a Ronan Charizard video that doesn't have "What If" in the title. Well, I gotta say, you and me both. What am I even doing here? Why am I not telling a story? Well, normally I would. But recently, something has happened in the anime that has pushed me over the edge with the incompetence that the anime has become. Now, my frustrations have been boiling for a while. But this thing right here that you're seeing on the screen has got to be the dumbest thing in Pokemon anime history that I have ever seen. I've seen a lot of videos and reviews on the Pokemon Journeys portion of the anime, and for the most part, they've been positive. Some give partial critiques, but nothing has been critical of the plot, characters, locations, or the finality of what should be Ash's World Championship season. So, I'm going to assume the role that everyone hates to be. I'm going to play the devil's advocate, be the bad guy for once. I'm going to tell you why Pokemon Journeys the anime is the biggest problem series in this part of the franchise. I will touch on execution of plot, development of characters, missed opportunities, and more. So, if I've piqued your interest by now and you're invested in this subject, then get yourself a drink, a bowl of popcorn, and strap in, because this roller coaster is on a one-way collision course to wreck your childhood. This series is going to be a 3 to 4 part series consisting of different sections: plot, characters, locations, and finally, the championship. To start this video, we have to travel back to the end of Sun and Moon, the exact moment after Ash wins his regional championship. This moment is a very hype one. We were all riding on the high from his win, watching him say goodbye to his Alolan family. For all intents and purposes, could actually be his real parents for what they did for him in this part of the anime. But there's one major problem with this scene. Ash and Pikachu board the airplane, bound for their next adventure, to where at this point we were all assuming that he would be setting out to the next region of the Pokemon world, which we, as fans of the franchise, would come to know as Galar. However, we have a slight problem here. Ash, you're looking a little light. Did you lose some weight? Not eating right because you left your family back in Alola? Did you put on your underwear? Oh, that's right. He doesn't have his Pokemon. Oh, but he must have packed them in his bag, right? Now, he's back in Pallet Town, but he still doesn't have them. Wait, did you lose them in customs? No. I got it. The airplane lost your bag, and you won't get them back until it's found. That's not it at all? Well, then what is it? I'm sorry, what? Can you speak up a little bit more? I seem to have this ringing in my ear. It sounded like you left your championship team back in Alola. Surely you brought one. I mean, I know Naganadel went back to Ultra Space, but you brought Rowlet, right? Oh, it was sleeping? Okay, well what about Lycanroc? It's kind of your ace of the region. No? What? Okay. Surely you brought Melmetal. I mean, it's a mythical Pokemon that Professor Oak would love to study. Not that one either, you say? Okay, I know for sure you brought Incineroar. After all, you haven't actually used it in battle since it evolved. Wait. So let me get this straight. You're telling me that you evolved it and just left it there? Oh, Arceus, this is going to be a lot worse than I thought. Well, guys, we're off to a rough start. It can't get much more worse than this, can it? Can it? Well, I'm here to tell you, it can. Now, before I completely tear apart one of my favorite subjects, I have to say this. Pokemon Journeys did start off on a really high note. The first few episodes had us watching because we were in new, uncharted territory. Ash as a champion? Where could we go from here? It's quickly given a new feeling when Ash is made a research assistant for Cerise Labs in Vermilion City. This actually does something for the newest traveling companion Go, but doesn't really do anything for Ash when you think about it. He's seen most of the Pokemon in the world to date, unless they're from a new region. So what's his main goal for this generation? Quickly though, we find out that the final form of Pokemon competition in the world is known as the World Coronation Ceremony. In theory, this is a great idea. Have all of the top trainers battle it out to see who's numero uno. We see this within the first few episodes of the anime when we see Lance, the champion of the Indigo and Johto League, and don't worry, we'll get to that problem much later. Takes on the new kid on the block, Leon, the current champion of the newest region, Galar. Ash and his newest traveling companion Go, who we'll talk about later as well, are in the Galar region, and they witness the shiny new mechanic for Gen 8 known as Dynamax and Gigantamax. Ash quickly becomes entranced by it, quickly forgetting about the past mechanics, like the Bond phenomenon and Z-moves. Now this is something I get. New gen, we gotta sell the games. Ash will need a Pokemon that no one else has. Something that not just Dynamaxes, but can also Gigantamax. This is fine, because it's something they've done over the last 2 generations now to promote the mechanics of those generations. So it's become part of the norm. But the question becomes, are they going to give him a Pokemon that he's never had? Maybe a type he's never caught that can not only Dynamax, but Gigantamax as well. Then, he's going to use Pokemon from previous seasons and travel with them to compete in the World Coronation Tournament, right? And this season is going to be hype for fan service. I can tell you that. Well, if that's what many of you thought just like me, you'd be half right. He did give Ash a new Pokemon in Gengar, which I thought was a brilliant move. A Pokemon type that he's never really had, even though they recycled the Charizard storyline for the 8th time. But that doesn't matter, because now he's got a cool, fan favorite Mon that we're going to get to see interact with Ash's older, stronger Pokemon, right? Especially now that he's become a champion. I'm so excited, because Ash is going to be rotating out his other Pokemon, using the ones that's been sitting in Pallet Town for many generations at this point. Unfortunately, no. We got a brand new team of Pokemon that we'll talk fully in depth when we get to the character piece of this video series. Just know that I am deeply unhappy with the move of the lack of rotation for Ash's older Mons. Now, you may ask, why am I in particular unhappy with this move? Well, the big thing is, it would be fan service to see Ash's older Mons on a rotation from the first episode, not just having Pikachu. I mean, come on. I'm a Gen 1er. I'm practically a Pokeboomer. I would love to see Ash's Charizard in another battle that's actually a serious one. And I know some of you have come in at different generations. There's fans out there for Heracross, Bayleaf, Sceptile, Swallow, Infernape. I mean, the list goes on. I know that a lot of you would like to see those come back, even if they just get one battle. This would have gotten the hype train for the anime going so fast again. I mean, just think about it. You haven't watched the anime in years, and then you're talking with a friend that still watches it, and you're like, oh, did you hear that Gliscor was in this battle instead of Pikachu? And you're like, oh man, I love Gliscor from Diamond and Pearl. Okay, I'm just gonna, you know what? I'm gonna watch that episode on Netflix real quick. And then, bam, he's rotating his older Pokemon, and you've brought back some of your older fans that have lost interest. This in turn would up viewership, and in the much more boring world we live in, this is what is known as best for business. Not only that though, it fixes a fundamental problem that Ash has had over the last 20 years. And the reason I think he's lost so many of his championship runs. This is a lesson that he learned well over 20 years ago. Some of you are probably wondering what I'm talking about at this point and think that I'm just rambling. But hold on, because we're about to get into that. Now, we're going to have to turn the clocks back to the magical time of my teen years, 2003. The Game Boy Advance was the hottest handheld on the market. Good Charlotte was just starting out their career. And Wi-Fi sounded like something you'd order at a hipster coffee shop. The anime was just wrapping up its Johto League arc, preparing to head into the advanced generation. But before they did that, we needed to see if Gary could beat his longtime rival Gary. Spoilers, he did, with Charizard. Man, that battle was one that will always be one of my all-time favorites. But it's not the only thing that was important about this Johto arc. What comes next may arguably be more so. The battle between Charizard and Blaziken, which Charizard lost. And man, 20 years later, I'm still upset about that. I could not fathom how Charizard could lose to a chicken. Now, we all know that this was due to prompt the upcoming release of the new generation in Hoenn. But back then, it just sucked. And there was no explanation to how Charizard lost this battle. Just, it took more damage. But I think there's one more battle we have to look at. And that's the battle that Harrison had right after the one with Ash. He chose not to use Blaziken because of how much damage it had in the battle with Ash. The exact reasoning was it took too much damage and he would risk getting it hurt if he were to put it through another intense battle like the one it had with Charizard. Now if we apply this logic to the battle that Ash had with Gary and we actually look at it, we're going to see something interesting. Charizard had to battle not one, not two, but three of Gary's Pokemon. Scizor, Golem, and Blastoise. Two of those, he had a type disadvantage against. So, when you look at it like this, it makes sense to why Charizard lost the next round. And it's very simple. Not enough time to recover. Ash was relying on it too much because his Johto Pokemon didn't really have the power to carry him through. And it's evident by what we see him use in his top 16 battles against Gary and Harrison. Just on a side note, this has been a personal coping mechanism for me for this childhood trauma of Charizard losing to Blaziken. But anyway, we'll just leave that here. Now, do you guys understand what I'm talking about? This is a lesson that Ash learned 20 years ago. In Journeys, we should see him applying the lessons he's learned like this one. And they should be on full display. Instead, what do we get? Time and time again, all we see is the same 6 Pokemon battling it out through all of the Coronation battles, any regular trainer battles that Ash has. It's the same 6, which in theory should lead to the same problem that Ash had in the Johto region finale. And don't tell me that Ash did not learn this lesson, because we see that he did, because it's on full display in Sinnoh when he starts rotating out his Pokemon in the earlier battles, and then he goes into that extreme 6-on-6 with Paul. And what does he do? The exact moment he wins that battle, the next match, aside from Pikachu, he rotates everything out for older Mons. So I know he knows this lesson. The writers are aware of it too. So we know that he's done it in the past. The problem is, it's just being ignored. This, in fact, leads me to the next problem. The soft reset. Ash got a whole new team in this anime. We won't discuss them right now individually, but as a whole. He's got 2 dragons, 2 fighting, and a ghost. What kind of diversity is that? This is a problem that Ash has had in recent years. His teams, they just don't have much diversity. And I understand, Ash likes to use Pokemon that he befriends and stuff like that. And the argument that Karen says you should use the Pokemon that you like, not Pokemon that are powerful, which is true. But from a writing standpoint, if you're going to give him new Pokemon, why continuously stack types on top of types on top of types? I mean, look at Kalos. 3 flyings, 2 dragons, fighting, fire, water. What the hell is that? Then there's Sinnoh. And the fact that over half of his team just was weak to ice, which I've fixed in my What If Ash won the Sinnoh League. So if you want to hop over there after this video is done and go check out that project, we're currently in the process of getting to the finale. So I'm sure you'll love that one. I'll put the link in the description below and in the iCard above. But back to the main point. The Pokemon that should have been the main focus should have been Gengar. It's the Pokemon on Ash's team that can use the new mechanic of the new generation, which means it should have gotten the most development. But no, it gets the worst of it. I struggle to remember a battle where Gengar was actually relevant. But you know who got the most development? Who got the most screen time? Who was an absolute waste of a story? Guys, I'm just going to say it. And I know I'm probably going to catch a lot of heat for this. Ash should have never caught Riolu. Period. That's all I got to say. Now, for those of you who are still here and haven't disliked the video yet, I will cover this when we get to the character section of this project and I talk about each of Ash's Journey's Pokemon individually. And I promise it will be worth the wait for that. But what I will say here is that this is compounded by the fact that they started the ball with Gengar, but then they quickly dropped it. And that's giving Ash types that he doesn't have. He got a Ghost type this generation, which is something he's been severely lacking for a long time. I know. He had a Haunter back when he battled Sabrina, but we have to be honest. He never officially caught it. And even though I would like him to go back for that particular Pokemon, I don't see it happening. So him getting Gengar is a reasonable compromise in my eyes. But that leads into the next biggest problem. The types that Ash doesn't really have. So let's talk about them. Steel, Fairy, Psychic. These are all types that Ash lacks. Now, I know what you're going to say. Ronan, Ash has Lucario and Melmetal. And I'm going to respond, that's true. But Lucario is more of a fighting type than a steel type. You and I both know it. As for Melmetal, I'll admit that it's a steel type. But I wouldn't really count that for two reasons. One, it's a legendary Pokemon. I mean, you could even call it a mythical. That means that it has a higher stat base and extra powers that a normal Pokemon wouldn't have. Now, don't get me wrong. Strong trainers in the past have used Pokemon like that. Yeah, Brendan. But Ash is not known for that. So why should we even count that? And the second reason is he left it in Alola with his championship team. Hell, I don't even think they're ever going to battle again, let alone meet any of Ash's other Pokemon besides Pikachu. So yeah, anyway, how about that Psychic or Fairy typing? You know, something he's been lacking severely since like ever. But then you're going to say, Ronan, Mr. Mime, he's used it in a battle. It is officially his. He has the Pokeball. And I'm just going to retaliate with one simple line. That creepy thing has spent the last 25 years playing Ash's dad. It would be cruel to lock it away in a Pokeball. All jokes aside, it's more Delia's Pokemon than Ash's. We've all known that. I mean, it didn't even become a relevant battler until Journeys, which, in the match that it had, it proved that it's more inclined to do what it wants just because it's always been like that. It's always had the freedom. So if it doesn't want to battle, it's not going to really battle. But you know who Ash could have had instead of a fighting type regional variant? Maybe a Psychic Fairy type regional variant could fit that role. But we'll leave that for the team breakdown. Anyway, let's move on to a subject that can trigger some of the Pokeboomers out there. Now imagine you're 10 years old. you watch the best thing on Saturday mornings, Pokemon. It doesn't matter how bad the episode is. And trust me, going back to rewatch some of them, no matter how old I get, I still find enjoyment in even the season 1 episodes. But anyway, we're watching along, and then this happens to Butterfree. So he ends up releasing it. But then we figure, well, Ash has got Krabby, so he'll add that onto his team. Wait, he won't? Okay, well, he just caught a really strong fighting type. So that's going to be his ace for a little while. And he's going to keep it. Wait, he's not. Okay, well, surely he's not going to release any of his other strong Pokemon, right? Wait, where'd Pidgeot go? He released that too? Okay, Ash, you have to stop this madness. Oh, no, not Lapras too. Please, stop. Now that I got that frustration out of my system, and I know that we missed 2 of his Kalos team, but we'll get to that later, it's perfectly believable that Ash could have run into some of these older Pokemon that he released in a season that literally has the name Journeys in it. He could have ran into him. I would have bought that hook, line, and sinker 100%. Follow up on the promise that the Battle Frontier season opening gave us. All of his old Pokemon coming back. Infernape, Lapras, Butterfree, Pidgeot. We have not seen them in over 20 years. Why not? Ash seeing all these Pokemon and interacting with them would be a really, really great nostalgia bait for fans of his older team. Not only that, but he doesn't even have to bring them back on the team. Just give him some interaction with them. Acknowledge their existence. Because since Gen 1, Gen 2, we haven't. Just give us a close-up look at what they've been doing. Don't let them go the way of Blue's Raticate from the original games. Let us know that they're okay, because they could be suffering from abandonment issues from the trainer that told them,
"Stay here, I'll be back."
Now that I think about it, I'm not surprised that none of Ash's Pokemon in Palette and Alola have met each other. It seems to be a pattern that he's developing here. Now that I'm done with the ranting part of this section, let's get into the actual namesake of this section, the plot of this season. Ash battles around the world. Go catch his Pokemon. That is the theme of this season in its purest form. It should have taken 5 episodes, but it didn't. Instead, what we got was a fustercluck of plot. Let's start with the subject that I am deeply upset about this, the darkest day. With this season not being set in the new region, the writers did have a challenge on their hands. How do we roll the plot of the games into this new season? Then they came up with the bright idea of we will just literally copy and paste. And we'll only make it 2 episodes. We'll just put more useless filler in the places we could have used to build a proper story. With no real story in the first half, which could have been more exploration of Galar and the darkest day, and less, let's go here today because the boat's leaving in 20 minutes. I'm not saying that the older regions are a bad thing, but what I am saying is that it was like 70% everything else and 30% Galar. In reality, these percentages should have been flipped. With a new mechanic, new Pokemon, and a new bad guy, they needed more time to show these things off. Also, let's not forget about the massive plot hole that's been sticking around since Gen 5, the original dragon. Does anyone else find it very strange that both Unova and Galar have 2 giant holes that were made by meteorites that contain a dragon? Or how about the possibility that the original dragon and Eternatus could have once been the same creature? Maybe the meteor split up in the atmosphere when it came to our planet. Maybe Rayquaza was responsible for splitting it apart after being summoned by the Draconoids. Then that means that the meteor that's in Sootopolis City could be part of this as well. Wait, doesn't Kalos have Mega Evolution that uses stones that end in the last term "ite"? Like meteorite? Man, that's strange. 3 out of the last 4 generational regions have just showed up in this last 2 minutes. Strange. Very strange. But I'm just a fat guy sitting in front of a camera, so what do I know? Anyway, now that I've gotten your attention back with that statement, let's talk about the fan service episodes. Or the lack thereof. What we got in this series is more like fan teasing. Greninja makes an appearance. That's it. Ash's championship team makes an appearance. Ash's older Pokemon make an appearance. And even in the first time, we don't even get to see all of them. We had to wait for Paul to come back and start challenging Ash before we got to see that. Wow, that's a surprising pattern. Now, I know I'm going to get a lot of people that say, well, Ash has already had time with those Pokemon, and that the new ones need time to shine. This is true, but if this is supposed to be the final season of Ash's journey, then the whole series should have been fan service. Bring back all of his older Pokemon. Show the rest of the world how he got to the top 8. And trust me, it wasn't just using these 6 Pokemon. Now that we're on that subject, let's talk about the development of Ash's new team. Or, more importantly, Lucario. That was it. Gengar got 2 episodes, and Dragonite got the glowy thing from Iris. Sirfetch'd got a short-lived rivalry with a Gallade. Then there's Dragovich, who was really just there to take up space. Let's be honest. The moment that Ash caught Riolu, this became the Lucario show featuring everybody else. It's sad. That's the reason why it sucks to see Ash catch fully evolved Pokemon. It's hard to get invested with a character who's done most of its growing already. Since we're on the subject of development, let's talk about Team Rocket. No, I'm not talking about Jesse and James. I'm talking about the organization itself. If Ash is back in Kanto, there should be more of a threat than just a gumball machine. This is really sad, because for all intents and purposes, they're really the last evil team of the Pokemon world. And the writers have done nothing with them. I feel that after the events of Unova, Geo would have had a big problem with Ash for what he did at the end. And it never gets followed up on. Which is unfortunate, because now Ash is a Kanto native that's at the regional champion level, which you would think Giovanni might want to keep close tabs on. And if we know anything about past regional champions, that could be bad for business. And since we're on the subject of Team Rocket, why couldn't we get any callbacks to movies that are canon? We know which ones they are. It wouldn't have hurt to give a nod to them, like when Ash and Go battled Mewtwo. Just showing a brief flashback. It doesn't even have to be the first Pokemon movie because Ash's memory was wiped. But why not flash back to Mewtwo Returns? It's the same Mewtwo. It could have been a memory that Ash and Mewtwo shared alone for a brief second. That's all you had to do. Just give acknowledgement that the past has actually happened. It would be a great way to pay homage for the legacy that has been built up until this point. But no, instead, they just piss away a golden opportunity like that with a line like, "Oh, you're the clone of Mew? Well, I'm gonna catch you." Thanks for the brilliant observation, Go. The future of the franchise is safe in your hands. Now, you're probably noticing that the timer on this video is running to the end, so we're getting close. But I have one last thing that I want to harp on before I let you go. The World Coronation battles. They didn't really feel important until we got to B, which is a huge problem. This could have been a great way to bring back older, less significant rivals. The ones that were stronger than Ash in the past. Allow us to see how modern Ash stacks up against these older rivals. But I don't want to say too much here, because next time I will be tackling the subject of characters. And I'm going to have a very special guest to help me out with that one. But for now, that's where I'm going to leave the thoughts of a madman. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this type of video. I want to start doing more content like this so that way I can branch out a little bit. I don't want to just be known as a what if YouTuber. Don't get me wrong, I like telling you guys stories, but also I want to share with you guys how I arrived to the point in those stories. Because after rewriting 2 separate seasons of the anime and then looking over Journeys as a whole, my brain just starts buzzing. Danger, Will Robinson, danger. And it's a huge problem. There are so many times that they could have fixed things. There are so many times that things could have been done differently. And yeah, I understand that hindsight is 20/20. But the fact of the matter is, Journeys, it really should have been the season that they used to fix all of this. But anyway, you guys, I hope that you enjoyed the video. I hope that this subject did what it was intended to do. And that is to get you to think. I want you guys to start thinking about the things the way I do. Because here's the deal. This is going to end up being a couple more parts. And next time, when we tackle characters, we're going to go in depth on the problems with the actual characters in the Pokemon Journeys anime. And the lack thereof, certain other ones. But anyway, I'm Ronan Charizard, and as always, it's time to sign out the video the best way we know how, by giving thanks to the sponsors, the patrons. Silver Heart Soul, Robert, Vegito Gaming 78, Andrew McCartney, Holosiv, Julian Rodriguez, Ruben Watson, Lord Explosion Murder, Assassin 139, Flyer 943, Shadow Dragon, Tavern Landlord, K McKnight, Drax, Truevolt, Dino King, Dalen Silva, Fox King, Dalian Petit, Warney Taylor, Plus Ultraman, Megar, Mike Logan, Team Valor, Kendall Green, and Earth Dragon. I want to thank you all for watching all the way to the end, and I hope to see you in the next one. And don't forget to drop a like.